Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It's Monday Night Live, and we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and my beloved LinkedIn. Man, have we got an action-packed episode scheduled in for tonight. I'm pretty pumped. So we've had a lot of things going on lately, not the least of which is this whole coronavirus situation. I noticed in some of the media, with the bans that are happening in Victoria, especially, that a few people aren't completely happy with some of the rules and regulations, and a lot of pressure's been put on small business owners. A lot of people have lost their jobs. So I've asked Jim Penman from who started Jim's Mowing, to join us. He has some thoughts to share about that. He's just emailed me. I'm going to see if he's going to be able to get on the call. So we're just working that out. But I also want to talk about TikTok and Instagram. For those of you that aren't familiar with TikTok, I've got a bit of an enthusiast here in the waiting room who's going to join us. I mean, when I was looking into TikTok, I was asking around a lot of the business people I know, and not many of them were very familiar with TikTok. However, there seems to be a lot of people using it. And so therefore we've got Levi to join us. And I see Jim's just patched on. I'm gonna bring Jim straight in, I think. So let's welcome everybody to the call. Jim Penman. Jim, how are you?
Oh, not too bad. I'm glad I got on. I was a bit last minute.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Where are you tuning in from?
Just from home.
Are you in, which city are you in?
Melbourne, plague capital of the country. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to asking you a few questions about the restrictions that are going on. But Jim, do you mind just sharing a little bit about your story for some of the audience that perhaps haven't come across you personally before? I'm sure we've all seen the trailers around Australia. Your brand's very well known. But how did you get started? Was it a one-off business, and how did it all begin?
I started off aiming to be an academic, did a PhD in history, believe it or not, and lawn mowing was my part-time student job. And when I finished my PhD, or almost finished it, I found there was no possible work in that area. So I decided to go full-time in my mowing business. And it sort of grew a bit more than I expected.
So how old were you when you started?
Well, in 1982, I started full-time. So I would have been basically 30 then. Yeah.
Okay.
That was 38 years ago.
Yeah, awesome. And obviously had a lot of success building the franchise since then. How many franchises are there now?
About 3,900.
Wow.
Yes. Well, we're hoping to hit 4,000. We expect to hit 4,000 by the end of the year, because the crisis is very bad for the country, but very good for us because we've got plenty of work, and there's not as many options out there as there usually is. Yeah.
And so tell us about the impact of coronavirus on your business, and then we can talk specifically about some of the restrictions in Victoria. I'm keen to hear your thoughts on how it's impacting business and how the government have responded.
Well, not wanting to be light on the misery we're all suffering, but it's actually been very good for us, because we've got leads, we've got masses of unserviced leads anyway, but the leads have gone up about 20% since the same time last year. So we've got plenty of work. But what's even more important is that franchise inquiries have gone through the roof, because we've got work and people are out of work. So we're going gangbusters. It's been fantastic for us. So it was all pretty rosy in a way until about a week ago, when the Premier, who initially put out a guidelines, in fact, the law through the Department of Health and Social and Human Welfare, to say that sole operators working alone could operate, because obviously no risk to themselves or anybody else, because they don't even see the clients and so forth. They're not working with anybody else. And that was great. So that's okay. We can live with that. And then a few days later, the Premier goes into a press conference and says, oh, no more lawn mowing or gardening or cleaning, as an example. Probably just completely off the cuff, not having any idea at that time what his actual guidelines were. And of course, being the skilled politician he has, the first rule of politics is you never backtrack, never admit you're wrong. Or if the alternative is throwing tens of thousands of Victorians unnecessarily out of work, well, that's obviously the far better option, because, I mean, what do they matter? I'm not the Premier. I'm all they care about. It's a stupid thing because these people are no risk. We are not any risk of infection to ourselves and anyone else. The department's own guidelines recommended that. I challenged the Premier to tell me one person who's been infected doing the kind of jobs that we do. And obviously he can't. There's no reason for it. It's just simply that he blurted this out and now he's got to stick to it. It doesn't matter what suffering is undergone by anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty furious about the whole thing.
As I imagine, someone mowing a lawn. We've got things at our disposal like mobile phones and online payments. Somebody mowing a lawn in a mask, it doesn't seem to cause a threat to. I think they should be being a little bit more supportive, perhaps. So it's good to see somebody speaking up to help some of the small businesses that are out there, because obviously, otherwise they're just going to be completely out of work altogether, aren't they?
Look, I hear some terrible, terrible stories of people, not just from gyms, but from everywhere. People who've been thrown out of work, they've got no income. A lot of them don't have any, there's no backup of any kind from the government. And they're so angry, and they say the council can operate. They can go around in 2s and 3s, and they're completely safe. We did the same job, one person with a mask. No, can't do it because we're a threat to public safety. I mean, the point of it is it's not even effective. I could understand if there was a reason for it, but it's not even effective because you've got to think about it. If they get thrown out of work, okay, what does a person do? Now, it's nice to think they'll sit down in the chair and they don't move, but what are they going to do? They're going to go out, they're going to have a walk, they're going to maybe run without a mask, they're going to go to a bottle shop, they're going to get fast food. Any one of these activities is 100 times more likely to convey an infection. So this is a unique example of a change which actually increases the level of infection in the community while causing endless devastation to so many people who are the most vulnerable in society. And I've been flooded with people who are just saying to me things like, I'm just so pleased that you stuck up for us because we've got no voice.
Yeah. So it's excellent to see somebody standing up, and I hope to hear more about this. Hopefully the Premier takes notice of some of I know you've been on other media outlets and written a letter to him personally. So I'd be interested to see what comes back from that. Jim, a lot of the people tuning in, I can see some of the comments popping up here. There's a lot of entrepreneurs on the call. I'm curious, like on this journey that you've been on, COVID aside, that's probably the immediate answer, but COVID aside, what's like one of the biggest challenges that you've encountered as an entrepreneur that you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
A lot of it's got to do with overcoming discouragement. Being in business, as you know, can be very hard at times. I mean, this last few days, it's not been the easiest in my entire career either, because you get a lot of flack from this sort of thing. But, you know, there's been times when I've been really just hit so hard, especially in the beginning when I was just starting up and I was deeply in debt and you know, just had no money and it was just very difficult. And sometimes you just feel so battered by it that you just, you know, you just want to give up. But I don't give up. I suppose I'm a bit like one of those, you know, those big things with the plastic ones with the weight in the bottom, and you knock them down and they spring back again. Well, I'm a bit like that. So I don't give up easy. And
is that something that you think you were born with or developed along the way?
Well, yes, I suppose upbringing, character. My Christian faith helps me a lot. I must say, in the hardest times, it's just there. I think you've also got to have a sense of having a sense of purpose in what you do makes a lot of difference. Because one of the things is, even though my academic career failed, I did a lot of research which suggested that there are ways we can dramatically improve human society. Basically through the use of biochemistry and epigenetics, and I'm running a research program now, which I'm spending, $1 million a year on, $2 million next year, and we're doing some very basic research. Now that gives me a sense of purpose in my life, and also my service to my franchisees. The fact that I feel very committed to them. Every single franchisee in Jim's group has my phone number and my email address, and they contact me about anything and everything. Wow. And so I know what they're thinking and going through, and it's like my extended family. So they're very important to me. So it's kind of like that pushes me along in a lot of ways.
So are you actively involved day to day in the franchise group?
Oh yes, believe me.
Still,
I probably had a correspondence with about 30 different franchisees and franchisors just today. I'm there all the time. They can ring me, you know, people advice they want. I do personally with complaints and so forth and
Wow.
all kinds of things. Yeah. So I'm really involved. I love it. It's great fun. I mean, I'm 68. People think you're supposed to be retired, but I reckon another 20 years at least I can keep going for.
Wow. And you know, I guess like as you grow a business, we all get very busy. And our schedules, you know, fill up, especially as you grow a larger company that you have. What are some of the things that you do to manage your time effectively? Are there still things you do which you consider a waste of time, or are they all delegated?
No, I don't waste my time. I have a very efficient way of doing things. I worked last year off emails. I probably answered about 100 emails today, and I started the most recent one, and I read it and I do something with it. Now that might be answering the question, it might be changing the complaint status, it might be deleting one if it's valid. It might be referring to somebody else for advice. I just do it and I go to the next one and the next one and do it very fast. And I type very, very fast. I learned to touch type way before the age of computers. I wanted to be a writer, actually, my science fiction writer, you believe it. And
really?
My writing is so terrible that there was when I was about in year 12 in school, I wanted to type, and I asked my sister. I said, "How do you type?" She said, "Put your fingers there and do it." So I've touch typed ever since. So I type very fast. So I just deal with things one after the other, after the other, after the other, and do it fast and efficiently. And I don't look back, and I just deal with it. So I can get a lot done.
Yeah, awesome. So is Daniel your son that's involved in the business?
Sorry,
is Daniel related to you that's involved in the business? Daniel Dungate?
Daniel. No, who's that?
Oh, okay, I thought I saw a name come up. It's actually the letter that you sent me. That's the Premier. It was Daniel. I'm pretty sure the address at the top. Am I getting confused?
Daniel Andrews is the Premier. The Premier.
Okay.
I wrote as the Premier.
It sounds like I'm getting confused. Don't mind me.
If he was in my business, he might understand a bit more about the needs of ordinary people. I don't think the Premier even knows a small business owner. I'd be surprised if he does. They live in a bubble there. You have no clues. To him, a lawn mowing contractor is somebody who mows the lawns for his mates who are union officials and stockbrokers and lawyers and all the rest of it. The creme de la creme. He would have no comprehension of what it's like to be a struggling small business owner. Not any idea at all. He's a pure politician. And Jim, I don't say that in a bad way. Being a politician is useful, but in this day and age, in time of crisis, do you really need a politician or do you need a leader?
We've got a couple of questions from the audience here. Paul's asked, Jim, when did you move into franchises and why did you choose that route?
Well, 1989 is the answer, but what actually happened was that I sort of had the idea, but I thought, why would anybody buy a franchise? Because I used to build up and sell lawn mowing rounds. I started working for myself. Then I used to I got so much customers, I started building up and selling lawn mowing rounds. And why would anybody buy a franchise when you just want to work and then what are you going to offer them ongoing? And then VIP came in from Adelaide. And they just terrified me, these guys. They had 250 franchisees. They were hugely successful. In my terms, that was massive, and they had all this stuff and uniforms and signed trailers and all this stuff. I actually tried to join them. I actually said to them, "Look, I'll just help to build VIP in the state." And they said, "No, not interested." So I thought I might as well try and see if I can compete with these guys sometime. So I went and basically gate crashed their expo and went up to the stand and said, "Like, I'm interested in VIP. Can you tell me about it?" Not saying who I was, of course. And then this guy told me all about it. And then the state manager came in and said, "That's Jim Penman. Don't tell him anything else." So they kicked me off the stand. But I thought, hang on, there is some point to this franchising idea, but I bet I could do a better job of franchising than they did, because I reckon I could look after what the franchisees wanted. And so I just started. And somebody said to me at the beginning, how well do you think this could work? And I said, well, I don't know if it'll work or not, but one day, if it works really, really well, I could have as many as 100 franchisees. and honestly, the whole thing just shocked me the way it took off. I had 60 by the end of the first year. I thought, what is going on with this? But I had a very simple way of selling, and this was based on the way I used to sell lawn mowing rounds. Because when I sold a lawn mowing round, what I found was whenever I sold to somebody, I would put their name on a in black texture with their phone number on a bit of white cord and stuck it behind me. And I did everything I could to look after them. I sort of gave them replaced jobs, and I gave them advice and all kinds of things. I didn't charge anything. I just did it. So that if somebody came to see me and they said, why should they do it with you? I would say, well, look, ring up some of those guys, take a few phone numbers, ask them. And they'd ring up and they say, Jim's a fantastic guy to deal with. He looks after you. He keeps his promises. It was easy. So when I started franchising, I did the same thing exactly. What I did is I gave everybody a list of my current franchisees with their phone numbers, which nobody did. It was way before the code. And they'd ring them and they'd say, this is great. Jim's great. He looks after us well. It's the best system. Why would you be anything else? And so somebody would come to me and say, why should we deal with you when you're running your business from your basement? And there's VIP, which is interstate and got this big office and all this fancy stuff. And I say, well, look, my system's different. I can tell you a bit about it, but I want you to take my list and I want you to go and ring as many of my people as you want to, ring all of them, and then go and ask VIP for their list. So, which I knew they wouldn't give them. So my guys sold it for me, and that's all it was.
We've got another question here. We've got time for one more. So is it very scary to manage such a big company? Do you ever get scared that you make a bad decision, and how do you make decisions? From Charles.
Well,
any thoughts?
It's better to make a decision than not to make a decision, and I'm very good at making decisions. If I make a bad decision, people yell at me and I change it. I mean, I'm not, unlike the Premier, I'm not afraid to change my mind, and that often happens too. If I do something that my franchisees don't like and they start telling me because they can all get onto me, then I say, all right, okay, let's change it this way. We actually have an advisory committee which actually helps to make policy for the company. So yeah, I feel responsible. I feel responsible for a lot of people. When my franchisees suffer, it really hurts me. And so I always have this driving sense of obligation, which motivates me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I can hear that you're obviously very caring about the people that you're involved in business with, and your reputation precedes you. And it's been fantastic having you on the call, Jim. Thanks very much for joining us. It's been an honor, and I hope you get some headway with the Premier.
Yeah, good luck with that one, but maybe. Thanks for telling me. Really appreciate it.
Okay, speak soon. Take care. All right, guys, there you have it. Hearing straight from the guy that grew almost 4,000 franchisees for Jim's Mowing. I didn't tell Jim because I bit my tongue a bit, because one of my first businesses was a gardening business. It certainly didn't have the same level of success. Moving on, guys. Today, I want to talk about this TikTok ban. I want to talk about Instagram. You may have noticed if you're on Instagram, like they've copied a lot of the TikTok features. I only know this because I've been well informed by my good friend, the one and only Levi Garrett, who's going to tune in and join us, who's a TikTok enthusiast. Levi, how are you?
Good, and you?
I'm doing good. Levi, what do we think of TikTok? Are you a fan?
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. It's pretty fun.
How many people are on TikTok now, Levi?
Around 800 million.
800 million? Jesus. Yeah. That's more than LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn, Levi?
No.
So tell us, what kind of videos and pictures do people post on TikTok?
Well, there's like dances, like all bunch of stuff. You can find anything on there.
And what do you think about the Premier ScoMo saying that TikTok might be banned in Australia?
Oh, I was kind of mad at first because I've made quite a few friends on there, and I was almost at 300 followers, but I'm now at 400. But yeah. Yeah.
Tell everyone what you did when you found out that TikTok might be banned.
I DM'd him saying, "How many likes on TikTok for you not to ban it in Australia?"
Did ScoMo get back to you?
No, but he saw it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, ScoMo, if you're watching, shame on you. We need you to get back to Levi. And I have Brooke V.
Hi.
Sorry, I should have given you a bit more warning.
Don't worry, I'm just responding to DMs.
Oh, yeah. Have you written one to ScoMo yet about TikTok?
No, but I heard that and I was laughing. I thought it was hilarious. Don't worry. I've messaged Mark Zuckerberg like 1,000 times and he never responds to me either.
Levi, before we go, we've got a question from the fans.
Yeah.
Do you think people pay attention to the ads on TikTok?
No, they always skip them.
There you have it. No one's interested. Thanks,
Great.
Levi.
Thank you.
Young entrepreneurial dude there. As long as the TikTok doesn't get banned, he'll be the next influencer joining us, I'm
He
sure.
was so cute. What a little legend.
How are you today, Brooke?
I'm pretty phenomenal.
That's good to hear.
How are
what
you?
else is new? I feel like I don't need to introduce you. Most of my audience know who Brooke Vulinovich is. She's been labelled my arch nemesis due to the LinkedIn versus Instagram tour we did last year and the phenomenal podcast that we started together, which has also been called the greatest podcast in the universe by a few people, or maybe just two people.
That's all it needs, right?
Yeah. What's going on with Instagram, Brooke? It's all changing. I'm confused.
So many things are happening. So literally last week was like Instagram Christmas for me because we have been waiting for the introduction of, I suppose you could say, TikTok's arch nemesis, aka just straight out copy, except there's one thing they didn't copy and I'm really fucked off. Can I say fucked off? I'm really fucked off because it's like one of the coolest features.
Cover your ears, Levi.
Sorry, Levi. It's like one of the coolest features of TikTok, and it's the one thing they didn't copy, and it's the voiceover feature.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well, I understand what a voiceover is. Yeah, I mean, like to be honest, I'm not the biggest TikTok user out there, so it's all pretty new to me. But what's the difference, like, between these Instagram reels, they've called them? What's the difference between doing an Instagram reel and an Instagram story?
Okay, so in a story, when you press on the capture button, you can capture 15 seconds of video. A reel, you can split up that 15 seconds into multiple videos. It's
almost like a video editing suite, isn't it?
Yeah. And
without voiceover.
Without voiceover, yeah. And what you can do, I suppose another difference would be that stories only last for 24 hours. Reels now lives on your feed. So you can share your reel to your story, but it also actually lives on your news feed forever. So that would be another difference. What else?
What type of content are you going to be recommending to your clan of thousands and thousands of people that are following your advice? What sort of content are you going to recommend that they post on Instagram Reels?
So I have been, I've been an active user of TikTok since the app was invented, in that I don't create TikToks, but I watch. So I'm an active consumer of TikToks for the reason that I've been watching what brands are doing and what's been really working for brands, because obviously you can just replicate that on Reels. So what's pretty successful that I've seen brands do is little a day in the life of. So literally recording like a couple of seconds snippets of your entire day. So it brings your customer into your world, like packing up orders, making your products, shipping things out, the meetings that you're going to, all just in a 15-second snippet. You can also go down the path of sharing tips and advice, but this is where some people are going a little bit wrong, because you can type text on the screen, right? But it's only 15 seconds. So you got to make sure that what you've got on the screen, people can actually read and consume that content within the split second that it's up on the screen. And that's where a lot of people are messing up.
Yeah. I'm guilty of doing stuff like that, putting too much information in stories, putting the links in the wrong places. But, so like this day in the life stuff, if you're in lockdown, have you got any ideas of how people could be a bit more creative? And like, I've seen you do it. I've seen you do it during coronavirus, and you do tell these stories. And I think, how does she come up with this stuff? Like, I find it quite difficult when I'm sitting at home all day. You got any ideas for us?
Well, what you've got to remember is it's only 15 seconds. So it's 15 seconds out of what, the 12 hours that you're awake. I find people are really intrigued by what you do in the morning, or if you work from home, like, what do you do with that time? When do you get up? What do you eat for breakfast? Then what do you do? What programs do you use? When do you eat lunch? Then what happens? Like, people have this idea that when you work from home, I don't know, you like sit around twiddling your thumbs all day. They can't seem to grasp what working from home actually means. So just showing the steps of what that actually involves from when you start work to when you finish work in a 15-second clip. Like, don't overthink it.
And I can feel the energy a little bit on the call, or maybe it's my own energy, but like, it's a little bit, you have to be vulnerable, don't you? A little bit. I mean, like, if I'm thinking, do I want to share what I have for breakfast, or I want to share this, or I want to share that. What are your thoughts around vulnerability?
Vulnerability is a huge part of social media, because vulnerability is a way to connect with people. You've got to be vulnerable in order to foster that connection. And that's why we're all using social media to connect, right? So for the right people, they will find your vulnerability endearing and relatable. And that's what's going to foster that connection and bring them into your brand and ultimately turn them into customers. So you got to do it.
Yeah. And I think it's practice. It's so interesting. I called Brooke up an hour and a half ago, I think. And I'm like, Brooke, we got Levi coming on. We got Jim coming on. Can you come on and talk about what's happening on Instagram? And you're like, yeah, no worries. Like,
here I am.
no stress. It's like, it's practice, isn't it? You just feel comfortable doing this now.
100%. Like, I'll be totally honest with you. About 3 minutes ago, I was falling asleep on the couch because, like, this is really getting close towards my bedtime. And, but, you know, you got to do what you got to do. This is showbiz, and the show must go on.
This is showbiz. What are you excited about at the moment, other than Reels?
I'm excited to see what actually does happen with TikTok. Because Donald Trump has given TikTok until the 15th of September to be purchased by a US-based company. Otherwise, it's banned. So if it does get banned, I'm really interested to see what happens, because it's a massive platform. The content creators on TikTok are pumping out serious content for themselves and for brands as well. So what's going to happen to all of that?
I know it wouldn't surprise me if the Trump group are making offers.
Yeah, well, the latest is that Twitter is now in the race. Wouldn't you love to be like, maybe I'll buy it. Maybe I'll use that 40 bill spare that I've just got sitting around and invest.
Yeah, COVID, so many good opportunities.
Right? But like, can you just imagine entertaining that idea? Maybe I'll buy TikTok. I would love to. Does anyone want to lend me 40 bill? If anyone's got 40 bill spare and you want to...
It's Brooke's birthday coming up.
pass it over, I would love to. How cool would that be? Like, I own TikTok now. Welcome to the social club.
So, how's your business been through COVID, Brooke? Give us an update.
Ups, downs, and everything in between. So a big part of what I do, obviously, is speaking. When events started getting cancelled, all that got canned. When travel was not an option, all that got canned. So that was pretty scary, because within like 2 weeks, I lost, my entire year's worth of work, really, and didn't really know what was going to happen. And then I lost almost half my social club members as well. Because, businesses were cancelling subscriptions. They didn't know what was happening. And that was also really scary. And there was definitely a point where I thought I was going to lose everything. This was a couple of months ago now, and it was shit, and it was scary. And I just refused to lose everything. So I pivoted, worked on adjusting my strategy and managed to get the social club back up and running and really strong again, which I'm very proud of doing, because it was really hard and it was really scary. but we've done it and it's good. And also now I'm working on a new program, which will be launching soon, which is going to be huge.
Tell us more. Tell us more. Can you tell us more?
Can I tell you more? I did a post about it last night, and there is a very big hint in the post of what it is, and only 2 people so far picked up on it.
All right, guys, get onto Instagram. Get onto Instagram. Look at Brooke's post from last night.
It is, I think, what's cool about what's coming for me personally is if it wasn't for COVID, there's no way I would be able to commit to what I'm about to do. I just wouldn't have been able to commit to it with my schedule that I had this year. So the schedule got cleared. I had time. And, you know, when you've got time and you're creative, you create things. And I created something that's been niggling at me for a long time. I know there's a massive need for it. I get asked for it 5 to 10 times a day. I get asked for this. And I've just had to say, no, I can't, no, I can't, no, I can't, no, I can't. And now I can. So that will be launched. Well, what I can tell you is enrollments for it.
Enrollments is a hint. That's a hint, guys.
Enrollments will open in September. The date I will be announcing first to my social club community. So my social club community will get first dibs.
That includes me, ladies and gentlemen. I did not cancel during COVID. I'm a loyal social club member.
You're a loyal social club member. Thank you. You were my one left.
I'm going to take a couple questions for you, Brooke. Here we go. Daily, weekly, Instagram. Does it matter for posts versus stories, etc., etc.? Thoughts?
Oh, Paul, I'm overwhelmed by the different media types on Instagram. What should I be doing first? Daily, weekly? Okay. So really good question, Paul. Look, there isn't one answer for everyone. Okay. There's no point me saying to you every single day, you need to do this or you need to post on your story or that. You need to actually find through testing what works for your audience and fits within your lifestyle. Some people can post every single day to their feed and on their story. Some people just possibly can't. You need to find what works for you. I would start with your feed. So get your feed strategy solid and then move on to stories once you're comfortable with your feed posts. Then when you move on to stories and you become comfortable with your stories, then start doing some IGTVs. When you become comfortable with that, start doing some reels rather than trying, don't do 5 things with 20% effort. Do one thing with 100% effort until you feel comfortable with it. And then when you've got that nailed, move on to the next thing, because otherwise you're just going to do your head in.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. So, and how important is consistency?
Consistency is key. So I would rather you find what works for you that you can maintain consistently than go gung-ho. Like, I always compare social media to fitness. So if you've never worked out before and I said to you, you need to go to the gym every day for an hour, you might do it for the first week, maybe the first 2 weeks, and then you'd be like, fuck this, I am out. If I said to you, okay, what can you fit into your lifestyle? You need to exercise, but how can you do it consistently? Then you would be more open to doing it consistently. And social media is exactly the same. You've got to find what works for you.
Yeah, great advice. Thanks so much for hopping on late notice, Brooke. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Well, most of the time when we're not going head to head.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Catch you later. I'll just cut her off mid-bye then. But awesome to have Brooke on the call. Obviously, an Instagram guru. Highly recommend her social club membership. If you haven't joined, check it out. We will see you next week. Have an awesome week in business. For those of you that are still on lockdown, get onto Instagram Reels and start sharing some stuff. And we'll see you next week. Looking forward to it. Have a great week, guys. Cheers.